Hello! David Snowpick here from Snowpick Games. Welcome everyone to the stream. I see a bunch of eyeballs and a bunch of characters on the screen. You guys got some really cool characters this time. Hey, M2, Ricardo, Gauntlet. M2, you got like, is that a spear or a shovel? It's kind of hard to say. Ricardo's got a sword. He's the most well-equipped of any of us today. So how is, wrong button. How's everybody doing? I personally am having a fantastic day, at least so far. It's probably the healthiest that I've felt in weeks after having recovered from the coronavirus. And I had a really great morning with my daughters. We played some Minecraft. I got them back to school and to daycare without any sort of incident. It was a very lovely time. Of course, they are back in school and in daycare again after our family had the coronavirus, which is not the most fun ever. Let me know if the overlay is working. By the way, this overlay, I saw someone talking about it, maybe it was M2, is a Godot game that we built on stream some weeks ago. So if you want to see how it works, you could go check out those old streams. Otherwise, like, the code's available on GitLab as well. But yeah, it's just a Godot game that integrates with the Restream API. And these little characters are from Kenny. So anyway, how are you guys doing? How are your projects going? I have been relatively busy the last week. I've been trying to finally get the tutorial for the deterministic network physics engine out. I think I'm probably going to publish it on Monday, do another quick alpha release of that project before then. And also the debugging tool that we were building a couple of streams ago for Retro Tank Party to debug the rollback netcode stuff. I've been working on that. Nothing really worth showing. I mean, the graph is a little prettier. It has some extra lines. Gauntlet, am I a caveman? I think you might be. I think you are a caveman with a sweet braid. There weren't a lot of barbers in caveman time, so you got to really, really decorate it, own it. Mr. Man, I thought it might have been a custom thing. Yeah. Gauntlet is still working on some prototypes with gdevelop. Awesome. So yeah, today we're going to be working for the first time on stream, actually, on some Webxr stuff. Sergio, who it'd be cool if Sergio turned up to the stream, reported this issue to me, which actually is an issue that I've known about for a while, but I kind of thought either it didn't matter or we couldn't fix it. But I ended up discussing with, well, Sergio convinced me that it mattered, and then I ended up discussing with Bastiaan Olij, the XR maintainer in Godot, that there is actually possibly a way to fix it. So let me show you what this bug is. First of all, it's in the smartphone AR support for Webxr, and I'm going to attempt to put my smartphone on the screen. M2 is working on some more Godot examples for Webxr Showcase. Awesome! That's really great, man. I can't wait to see that. Definitely give me the link once you have those going. So all right, let's see if this works. It may not. I was having all sorts of problems getting my smartphone screen sharing thing to jive well with Godot. Oh no! Do I have the Godot Editor running anywhere? I had this problem where every time I started the Godot Editor, it would kill my smartphone screen sharing thing. And I assumed it was because the editor was trying to mess with ADB, but I don't think I have the editor running. I think I only have the overlay running. You guys got such cool characters, but I think we might have to do the stream without the overlay. I'm going to have to poke around later and try to figure out if I can work out this ADB thing. So like my smartphone sharing thing, I guess wants to use, ADB client 39, and like Godot is starting up an ADB server version 41, and they conflict, and I don't know, just weird stuff. So I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to stop the overlay. Goodbye, caveman, Gauntlet, and M2 with his shovel. All right, let's try this again. Oops, wrong command, and I'm rerunning. No, not my email. What did I do? No device is found. Let's try disconnecting and reconnecting my phone. Will it work? Okay, it worked. It's just on the wrong screen. All right, guys. Whew. So I want to show you guys. Yeah, sorry, Gauntlet. Sorry about taking down the overlay. I want to show you guys the problem here. So this is my demo that I've been working on. Ooh, geez, that could be bigger. There we go. To demonstrate Webxr support in Godot. And it's basically like this little race car thing. You just drive race cars around. In the AR version, like, I don't even think you can make the race cars go. But if I hit Enter AR, and I apologize, you will see my very, very messy office. Sorry for the horrors that that may contain. But yeah, I could just basically, you know, look around this scene and still see the real world behind it. And the issue that Sergio had is that he wants to put some controls over the picture. So like, you know, on the smartphone, you'd be able to hit buttons and stuff. But when you try to do that, here we will change up my project and export it. It's weird stuff happens. It like makes everything semi-translucent and sort of like there's sort of like a filter over it, kind of like it sort of looks like the 3D stuff has become semi-transparent, and then there's also like a sort of semi-transparent white rectangle over. So I'm sorry that I'm going to have to keep opening and closing Godot and keep opening and closing my screen sharing thing just due to like whatever conflict is going on here. So here I deleted these nodes. I will add them back. All right, so all this adds is a canvas layer with a button on it, which we cannot see because we're in the 3D view. If we go to the 2D view, it's just a button, just a little button up in the corner. And if we export that, and yeah, I think that's all I have to do. Let's get back on the phone and reload. Of course, I have to kill Godot so my screen sharing thing will work. Is it coming? Is it coming? It is here. All right. We'll get used to this this routine, I hope. Okay. And ooh, I think I have to reload the page. Hang on. All right, enter AR. And there, you can sort of see the land is now semi-translucent, and it's actually sort of weird. Like, I think the closer I get to it, it like changes the opacity a little bit. The closer and further I get from the materials, and the button isn't there, right? So that's also the other important thing. If you wanted to put some UI on your AR app, you wouldn't be able to actually use it. So, I had previously just assumed that this was a Godot core issue, that whenever you put the viewport, the main viewport, into AR/VR mode, that 2D controls just don't work right. And that the right way to make UIs in AR and VR games was to make a secondary viewport that was in 2D mode and then put that on a texture, on a mesh in the world. And in VR, that absolutely 100% is the thing to do. And it actually kind of made sense to me that just putting 2D things on the viewport wouldn't work, because like in like VR, you have two eyes, you have stereoscopic view. It's like two cameras. And so that 2D stuff would need to somehow, you know, be distorted for the two eyes to make it actually like look right and not look like, I don't know, you're having trouble with your eyes and the thing was just sort of like, you know, wigging out there. But it turns out that that actually isn't the case. I discussed with Bastiaan Olij on Discord, and he says that if your AR/VR interface, which is like the piece inside Godot core that says like, hello, I am a possible way of doing AR/VR, if it uses external textures, it has this problem. But if it doesn't, if it uses the textures created by Godot, then you should actually be able to put UI elements on the viewport and have them work. And the reason that it's using an external texture is sort of like weird and historic. I'll draw a picture here to sort of explain what's going on. So in WebXR, we get a, why is that not a pencil? Give me a pencil. There we go. Nope, still not a pencil. Oh, that's weird. I don't remember it drawing that square, the square around it before, so it's kind of freaking me out. But WebXR gives us a OpenGL frame buffer to draw to. And it's actually like a single frame buffer for both eyes. Oh, come on. Why do you guys have to change your Sketch app on me? What is happening? Can I just draw a line here? Okay, so it's one frame buffer for both eyes. So like one side of it, you draw the left eye, one side of it, you draw the right eye. And Godot wants to create its own textures that it's going to draw each of the eyes to. And we are basically taking these two textures and then copying them into the frame buffer from WebXR. And that is not ideal. Doing this copy, especially on a mobile device like the Quest 2, is a performance issue. It's a problem. But there isn't a way in the Godot internals currently, in Godot 3, Godot 4, of course, is still like in flux, and so who knows what will be possible there exactly for XR. At least in 4.0, we'll probably be able to extend it and change it, whatever, for 4.1. But there isn't a way that we can just say, Godot, here, use this frame buffer, render to it. But there is a thing where instead of Godot creating the textures, your XR interface can create the textures and then say, Godot, render to these textures. The problem is that Godot wants textures. It wants an ID to textures, but what we get from WebXR is a frame buffer. And you can create a frame buffer that's attached to a texture, but you cannot like retroactively get the texture that a frame buffer is for. So anyway, in the current WebXR interface, we are actually creating our own textures because I had it in my mind that I was going to come up with a way to hack Godot 3 core to allow us to give a frame buffer instead of giving textures. And then I would be able to like pass this external thing over to Godot, but I never did. I never got around to working on that. 2021 did not go the way I had planned, and I really neglected WebXR this year, and I'm sorry. And next year I'm planning to focus way a lot more on XR stuff. But we are basically needlessly creating these as external textures when, with no detriment to like performance, it won't make things any worse. We could start using the textures created by Godot. Eventually, maybe we'll get something that actually solves the performance problem. But for now, just switching this model should fix Sergio's problem, make smartphone AR possible to put UI on there, and won't make us any worse off. So that's what we're going to try to do. That's what we're going to try to do on this stream. Let me see what's going on in... Gauntlet is trying to talk like a caveman. Hey, Pete Thorne. Woo, WebXR. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming. Gauntlet, interesting. Yeah, floating tabletop games. Honestly, like, I have not been very excited about AR, truthfully, but I know a lot of people are, and the more that I think about it, I'm getting more interested in it. I was thinking about it would be really cool with like, you know, stereoscopic AR glasses to have like debugging tools that could like float around in my environment, because I've been doing a lot of retro stuff with 6502 assembly. And if anyone has ever done like retro development, working in assembly and debugging stuff is crazy. You end up like just sort of walking through the memory, and you kind of always want to look at like 5 things at once. And I was imagining like, okay, I could drag like this chunk of memory and have it float over here. I could drag the processor like registers, put them over here, the processor status flags, have you know, all these different like visual things going on around me to like not totally lose my mind, rather than having to work in like a single text window where I can only look at one thing at a time. Anyway, I am starting to come around to AR being a possibly very interesting thing, especially like Did you guys see those Nreal glasses that came out a couple weeks ago? And I know it's like still early days stuff, but it's stereoscopic AR glasses that are relatively affordable. I think they were $700, something like that. I mean, I'm not going to get them. They're not useful enough for me to put down that kind of money. I'd get a new like Quest Pro or something for that much money for sure. But anyway, it's getting to a point where it's interesting. So I'm excited to finally put a little bit of time into it. All right, so let's get started here. Start up VS Code. And we'll start looking at the existing code and figuring out what we need to change. And we can close all these editors. This is last thing I was hacking on here was physics stuff. I had some notes. Yeah, so I did a little bit of pre-work on this stream. You guys know me. I never do pre-work. I always just show up with an idea of what we're going to work on. We do it. But I went and found like the APIs that we would need to actually do this. So let's get to Webxr Interface Js and look around there for a second. So currently we are implementing this get external texture for I, and we're returning an external texture that we create. And then this commit for I is happening, and it's giving us a render target that we are completely ignoring. So this render target would be the texture created by Godot, which we're just not using. So we need to change this around, and instead of returning an external texture for I and ignoring this render target, we need to return nothing and use that render target. And working with Webxr gets really interesting because this is in the browser, right? Which is essentially JavaScript. So we have to have like these kind of JavaScript layers to everything we're doing. And if you take a look at the CPP code, basically these two methods just call these are like methods with C linkage that are implemented in JavaScript. So this Godot Webxr get external texture for I actually takes us back to some JavaScript code. Here, get external texture for I, where what we're basically doing is if we've already created the texture, we just return it. If we haven't, we sort of create it on demand. I gotta turn my little computer down here. I keep hearing Discord notifications and thinking it's you guys, but it must be some other Discord I'm in. All right, so first thing, let's figure out what we have to return from this method to make it like a no-op. And for that, let's hop back to the C++. And we are going to look at the base class. I'm kind of wondering if maybe the base class has like a default implementation. Nope, it's pure virtual. Awesome. Or wait, no, this is my stuff. AR/VR interface. Okay, let's go see get external texture for I. It is not pure virtual. It returns a 0. Cool. So we can just delete our implementation. It'll fall back on this virtual, but not pure virtual, this implementation. So where is that code? That is here. Get external texture for I. You are gone. Remove the C++ CPP file implementation as well so that the compiler doesn't yell at us. And most of the work we're going to have to do is here. So that already should just have Godot creating its textures. We're going to have to change a whole bunch of stuff internally in the JavaScript code because, like, if you look at it, it's we're keeping like this array of these two textures here, which we're going to have to stop doing. We're going to have to not use those. And when we get to commit for I, rather than blitting this texture to the frame buffer that we get from Webxr, we are going to have to blit the texture that we get from Godot. So that's basically going to need to be another argument here. Let's start there. We got to start somewhere, right? So where are all of those C linkage functions declared? Do we declare them up here? Okay, we have some C linkage callback methods. I'm actually Unsure why these ones are all extern C and these ones are not extern C. It's fun looking at code that you yourself wrote, but like months ago, and wondering what the heck was this guy thinking? All right, I gotta find where the declarations are for that stuff. Oh, I bet it's here. Yep. Okay, so this is where we're declaring all of these methods that are actually implemented in JavaScript. And we are going to need to mess with the commit for I, and we need to pass in both an I and then an ID for the texture. That makes sense, right? So mscriptin keeps kind of like a mapping between integer IDs, which is what OpenGL in C++ and C use to represent textures, to the WebGL objects. So yeah, we're gonna pass in the ID, and then internally it's gonna turn that into an object, I think. So let's start with where we are calling that method. Transform for I. This will be commit for I. Oh, it's right there. So here's where those API functions that I looked up come in handy. We're going to need to take this p render target and drill down into it to get the actual texture ID. And we need to include whatever gets us VSG. Do we have it already? No, we don't. I should have written that down too. Oh no, Visual Server Globals, it's right here. We should have it. Why wasn't I getting autocomplete for it? Yeah, here's VSG. Okay, weird. So we should already have it. Let's jump back to commit for I. And, oh, come on. The Vim bindings in VS Code are not the greatest. I frequently use the Vim bindings in PHP Storm, and they're way better in PHP Storm. And of course, they're way better in Vim, but I can counter these weird things where it just like does weird stuff. Okay, let's copy and paste this method. Which will get the texture, which I think is another RID. So we'll say texture from the render target. Oops. And then we need to turn that into an actual integer. I think they're unsigned ints, right? Unsigned int. We might need to change the signature on that C function as well. We'll copy and paste texture, get texture ID. And let me just verify if this is an unsigned int or not. uint32t, yeah, I'll probably use exactly the types that they're putting there, just so there isn't any weirdness. uint32t, so I don't end up making like a 64-bit unsigned integer, which I don't think it would be actually with the normal compiler settings, but whatever. I'm a paranoid C++ user. Texture ID, and I think that may be everything we need to do from C++. Everything else might happen in JavaScript land. So let me just, while I'm here, change this to a uint32t. What are you complaining about? You don't have this type? I don't know. So let's think about this for a second. All this is here for linkage specified is incompatible with previous Godot WebXr commit for I. Where is there a previous WebXr commit for I? Declared at line 69. I mean, this is line 69. Okay. VS Code was just having a moment there. Okay. Okay, so back to thinking about these integers. all that this exists for is passing over the boundary between C++ and JavaScript. Does it really matter if we declare this with the exact right type or not? Is WebAssembly 2's complement? I mean, it doesn't really matter. 2's complement or any other representation of signed numbers should still be cool for like really small integer IDs. I'm just gonna make this be unsigned anyway. Okay, you guys get to see me be neurotic about types. Now let's jump back to the JavaScript. And here is where the real work begins. We need to tell him script in that this takes 2 integers. And this needs to be p texture ID. And now we got to do the thing. Okay, so looking at this code, all of this seems fine. So we're getting the view index from the weird enum that Godot 3 has. Godot 4 uses a view index. So in Godot 4, we'll be able to just grab that value. We're getting the base layer, getting the view from the pose, getting the viewport from the view. We are grabbing the GL object, just making a nice little alias for us. Frame up for original viewport. Yeah, I think we can just do like const texture, and then we need to do like, or not. Okay, we're gonna have to dig into mscripting for a second and figure out where those IDs come from. I will not trust any autocomplete from JavaScript. So we do some stuff where we are digging into mscripting's IDs. I think possibly when we're creating those textures, we like monkey patch them in or something like that. Let's look for the get external texture for I. So this is our little mapping thing. Here we go, GL textures. This is it. This is where we're digging into mscripting. We'll just I hate you, VS Code's Vimness. Okay, we will copy this and take it down here. Okay, so basically this gl.textures dictionary object, I guess in JavaScript terms, this object is mapping from C IDs to actual WebGL texture objects, and that should work. We probably don't even need this variable. Let's get rid of this variable. Wow, I copy-pasted that really strange. Okay. And I don't know. I mean, we need to do a ton of cleanup to remove all of the stuff around maintaining this list of textures. But will this work? I'm just going to sort of bounce around in here and look at all of the instances of textures just to see if I see anywhere that's doing anything that would cause problems. Because I'd love to test this before doing the cleanup and just sort of do the cleanup afterwards. This is all looking fine. Okay, let's compile this. Let's compile it. Let's see what happens. I'm probably gonna have to change some settings because I have this VS Code set up to launch Retro Tank Party, which we don't want it to do. We just want it to launch the editor. Or no, we can have it launch our game directly. Let's just put in the path here. It's Toy Racer VR. Or Toy Racer XR. I changed it to XR once I added like the really rudimentary AR support that's in there. Okay, compile away. What's going on in chat? Should it be GL lowercase now? No, I think GL lowercase is... Hey, Aaron Winter, how's it going? I think GL lowercase is a reference to the like browser WebGL context that we use to call all of the WebGL functions. And I think GL uppercase, of course, I named two completely different variables that are only distinguished by case. I probably shouldn't do that. Is an internal mscriptin object. I can show you in the mscriptin source code. Mscriptin is amazing in that it does what it does, but it is horrible in the way that it does it. Every time I have some kind of problem, the only answer is digging through the mscriptin source code and figuring out like, well, what the heck is it actually doing? And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but like I have to test every single like Godot alpha beta RC that comes out to see if it has broken, because the people who are in charge of the build system with Godot and HTML5, they'll like update mscriptin like all the time. Be like, oh yeah, it's fine. Let's just update to the next mscriptin version. But it sometimes like totally breaks WebXr, so I have to always be testing those. Anyway, we've compiled it. We have launched the editor, and we are going to export this. And we'll have to close the Godot editor because of the conflict with the screen sharing majig. And let's launch that. Let's see what happens. It'd be really hilarious if this just worked. It would be the most uncharacteristic stream ever. I'd say like 60% of our streams are like me having a really cool idea of what we could work on and us like never even getting close to doing it because we've encountered insane problems. But if we're like gonna go do a thing and we did it in like, what time is it? 30 minutes? Okay, so we see our button up there, enter AR. I guess the main thing is, does it work at all? No difference. So first thing we gotta check is, did I actually reload the page? I might have skipped a step. So let's do that. During the like Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales that Oculus was doing, I bought just an insane number of new games. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we reloaded. I definitely exported before we went in here. Is there something we can do to verify that it's actually running the new code? Because that would be the first thing. So we'll go down this in order. We'll verify we're actually running the code we mean to. Then we will attempt to verify that the code is doing what we think it is. And then if it's still doing this, then Bastiaan was wrong. And just switching from using external textures to the Godot textures had no effect. So yeah, let's think. What can we stick in the code that will make it clear to us that for sure we are testing the new stuff? Actually, maybe I'll do this on another screen so it doesn't do something weird. I'm going to launch Chrome because I'm using Firefox everywhere else, because Chrome has a way to like remote debug the browser on my phone. And so I'm going to see if I can make that work. And then maybe we can just write something to the JavaScript debug console, and that will tell us that it is our code that is running. And that the code that we don't want to run is not running would also be a good thing to verify. Although we deleted it, it can't run if we deleted it. All right, let me see. Developer tools? No, that's not where I go. Let me check my notes, because I do this very rarely for my phone, but very frequently for the Quest. And I have it in my notes here. Here we go. Chrome inspect devices. So this should theoretically let us connect inspect. Okay, cool. Let me drag this over to this window, and you guys can see it too. Okay, so this should theoretically be developer tools connected to the browser on my phone. There is some interesting stuff going on that I can see in those messages already. Like, what is viewport texture path? Oh, okay, no, this isn't it. The viewport texture thing is about, I added this like FPS control in the back. No, I don't think any of those errors are particularly useful for us. But so I enter AR mode. Yeah, the debug window isn't going to show us anything, but I'm definitely seeing it on my phone. Okay, we'll add a little debug statement. Okay, where shall we do that? Probably in here somewhere. We'll go old school and just do like printf. SG stream 34, yeah! That's a good thing to, that's a good debug message, right? Okay, we'll compile that. This will give us, hopefully, a very strong signal that we're actually running the code that we think we're running. Then the next step is verifying that it does what we think we're doing. Hey, Game Yarne. I don't know how you expect that to be pronounced, but hello, thanks for coming. Aaron Winter, push a notification to Android OS, print line on the phone. Yeah, so basically print line on the phone is more or less what I'm going for here. Okay, so wait a second. No, we're totally not running the code. I'm being an idiot. I've gotten so used to doing this for physics, we do not want to compile the editor. We don't want to compile the editor. We want to compile the export templates. The editor is like meaningless in this situation. Okay, cool. We were not running the code we thought we were. What I really need to do, and I won't do it from VS Code because I don't feel like messing with my configuration there too much. We'll just do it from the command line. What we really need to do is build the debug export templates, the HTML5 ones. And so to do that, I need to first activate the mscriptin variables. What is that called? Yeah, emsdk env, right? There. And then we need to go to the Godot source code. And let me just see if this is left over here. It is! Okay. There's my command line that I ran last night to prime all this stuff. Okay. Whew. Sorry, guys. Sorry for going down the wrong path there. Anyway, I was saying that I bought, like, I don't know, 10 games from the Oculus store when they were doing those 2 sales. And I got, the most recent one I was playing was Myst, which I haven't played that game since, like, it was new in 1993. So for me, it's like a new game. I don't remember at all. Like, I have a vague memory of the visuals, but like I don't know the answer to any of the puzzles. So that's been super fun and a little creepy. I like playing that game on the computer when it was just like, you know, the still images from the CD-ROM or whatever, was not creepy. I don't remember it being creepy, but this is super creepy, particularly like the part where you're opening the books and like that dude is screaming at you. But anyway, that's fun. Also got Vacation Simulator and Job Simulator, which I had never played, even though like those are definitely like old school kind of classics, or at least Job Simulator is. And my daughters have been loving those. Yeah, I haven't gotten around to playing most of them though. I have a lot to work through. You guys playing anything cool lately? Doesn't have to be VR, but that's kind of what's on my mind because we're doing Webxr stuff today. Something to chat about while we're compiling, you know. Okay, here we go. So let me know what you guys been playing while I go through the motions here of exporting this. I think I can export it from this editor, even if it's not our custom compiled one. I think so. Okay, we exported it. So I did a thing. You know, I always forget to check or uncheck this box, or sometimes it starts out unchecked or whatever, to whether I'm doing debug or release. I made the debug and release path exactly the same, so I couldn't make that mistake. I know my own personal failings. All right, so let's actually try this. I will share my phone screen. Come on. Oh, come on. No, don't be stuck here. Okay, good. And we'll reload. And where did my... Do I still have the DevTools thing going? Ooh, reconnect, do it. It's totally not connected. We would see like the normal Godot message like that we're starting up a particular Godot version. Well, let's just try it. Let's just try it and see what happens. Odds are it will fail catastrophically. Ooh, yep. That is a catastrophic failure. That feels like we caused an exception. So let's get the dev tools working. All right. Texture ID is not defined. Oh, okay. It's a typo. It's P_texture ID. 100% that's what it is. Let me go see. One of the things that's very annoying about working on this Webxr stuff is just like all of the layers. It's like I make a stupid mistake like this, and then I end up having to go through this really big cycle. Yep, P_texture ID. There we go. That is what caused the exception. And all we got to do is recompile and get back in there. But this, I was going to say this is good because now we know we don't need to start the editor. If I just export from the command line, could we keep this screen share thing running? Well, first of all, I guess I have to get out of here. Okay, cool, that worked. All right, let's try that. Let's see if we can do the Godot rebuild and the export. I'll do that from a different window, all from the command line, which would be what? Godot export. So I have this all in CI. Yeah, okay, Godot export Webxr and then the path. Let's just copy this. So we don't need to do it now because, in fact, ooh, I've never done this on a not headless display. It actually shows the editor for a second. That's interesting. Oh, Aaron Winter says, not VR indeed, but I've been playing Hunt Showdown a lot lately. Most fun first-person shooter I've ever played. Cool. I've never really been that into first-person shooters. I like VR shooters a lot. Of course, turning it to VR again, but that's cool. I'll take a peek at that next chance I get. Or we could just take a look at it right now. We're not doing anything. Everything is compiling. Oh my god. I type so bad on stream. There's like a little bit of nervousness that comes with streaming that like makes me slightly stupider and slightly worse at typing. So it's a zombie kind of thing. Looked like we saw some zombies. Yep, some zombies going there. The weapons give us sort of like almost steampunk aesthetic, but I might be adding my own twist on that might not really be there. I might be imagining that. Looks cool. Alex is on your list. Dude, play Alex. Alex is a fantastic game, a phenomenal game. Okay, looks like this built We will export. And unfortunately, it looks like even doing that export killed my screen share thing. Jeez. Godot and this little screen share tool do not want to play nice together. Okay, so we have fixed our typo. I have to get this moved over to this screen again. The comical number of things I have to do to make this work. Okay, and reload. When I was originally writing the Webxr module for Godot, I did it while simultaneously rewatching Battlestar Galactica because there was just so much waiting. It was like during all the waiting parts, I would just unpause and then hack for 5 minutes and then... Anyway, that did not work again. So let's get the inspector, and then we will answer the question, are we running the code we think we are or not? We'll see if we get our printf. I think it's this one. Okay, I don't want to be on errors. I want to be on all messages here. SG stream 34, yeah. So we are running the code we think we are. Interesting. This may be a lot anticlimactic. It could just be that Bastiaan was incorrect on if we use not external textures, that 2D things will just start working. That kind of sucks. Let's keep following this down, though, to know that for sure. So I guess one thing is we know that it is still doing something, like it's still rendering to the screen, even though we're doing it in a totally different way. This code we can just remove, so we know it's not distracting us. And I'll remove the declaration so we don't get a linker error later. External texture for I. Commit for I. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we can do to verify that we are actually doing what we think we're doing, because I just don't see how it could not be doing what we think we're doing. We no longer return any external textures. We're grabbing the texture. It's still rendering when we're on the phone. We got our printf. We really we have to be. It has to be doing what we think it's doing. Unless you guys see something I don't. Oh. Aaron is saying Hunt is taking place in the late 1800s. Oh, so it does maybe have a steampunk thing going there. It's PvPvE on one big map. 12 hunters, aka players, try to kill 1 or 2 bosses on the map, loot them, and extract with the loot. That sounds pretty cool. That sounds really cool. But yeah. Any ideas? Any ideas, guys? I mean, this change is good. Even if it doesn't actually fix Sergio's problem, it's still a good change because it reduces complexity. We were doing a slightly more complex thing that we didn't need to do because I thought it would allow me to hack Godot core and like improve this performance problem. So it's still worth finishing this, but I'm basically just looking for things to clean up. Sorry. Let's just clean up the textures because we don't need them anymore. Get this in a branch. Maybe we could make a PR for Godot. one of the tricky things here is everything needs to go into Godot 4 before it goes into Godot 3, and I have no idea how we're going to make this be Godot 4 code. There is actually like rudimentary OpenGL support in Godot 4 as of like maybe about a month ago, but none of it is connected to the XR stuff, so like none of it will work. But we could probably come up with something, some sort of way to get the code in there enough that Remy will be okay with it being merged, and then we can, you know, cherry pick it to Godot 3 or make a separate Godot 3 PR. Yeah, that should have extracted all the texture stuff. I don't see any instance of texture IDs or textures in there anymore, at least not that these are textures. There's a comment. There's this, but that's it. A little anticlimactic. A little anticlimactic, guys. We'll compile it. We'll test it. Make a commit. And then I guess I'll have to touch base with Bastiaan and say, like, dude, that didn't work. Switching to not using external textures did not result in this working. That does actually make me wonder, too, like, what is the real problem? Okay, there's two possible options, right? Either Bastiaan was just wrong, and not using external textures makes no difference, or there's something else entirely that is breaking 2D rendering when in AR/VR mode. And I wonder what that could be. I wonder if there's a way to test that. So when Sergio first emailed me, he thought it had to do with some WebXR blend mode property. But I think that's totally unrelated, right? Because we're rendering to textures from Godot, and so Godot is doing everything Godot is doing to those textures, and we're just copying those textures over to WebXR. So I don't think it's a problem with anything that WebXR itself is doing. I think it's entirely something Godot is doing, and it's putting it in the textures like that. But why? Why? Why is it doing that? All right, well, it built. Let's export again. Start up the screen sharing thing. Is it going to appear? Bring the window over. Reload the page. Enter AR. And we're still translucent. I guess we need to, I'll just look for, well, our print statement doesn't have the power it had before because we didn't change it. We should have added some characters or something to it to ensure for sure that we were doing our thing, but So we can see our cars over here somewhere. Where are they? There's our cars. Get real close. Will this cable let me get real close? The cars are right over by my gaming PC down here. Well, that's a shame. That's a shame. It doesn't fix the problem. I don't think Bastiaan's around right now. That would be kind of entertaining to like ping him and be like, hey, that didn't work. Like right on stream and get an answer. But he is in Australia. And that's a very different time zone. So I don't think he's around. What can we do? What can we do to try and dig a little deeper here? Bastiaan's explanation for what was going on was interesting. Let me just get that up from our Discord conversation. I will scroll to it and then share it on the screen so you guys can see. Where's the XR group? Here it is. And I did not entirely understand it, but the way it sounded was it was like something to do with the way rendering went, where it's like copying, not copying, but like doing different passes on the buffer as it's rendering. Where the heck is that? Oh, come on. We just talked about this like 3 days ago, and I just looked at it last night. Here we go. Okay, so far it's just theory, and I'm not sure how much applies specifically to GLES2 or GLES3. Oh, so is he saying his idea was just a theory? Anyway, so earlier he said it's a limitation of XR implementations where the interface provides a render surface to Godot. That doesn't work with the 2D renderer. ARKit and OpenVR are two interfaces that use render targets Godot creates and support 2D elements. So ARKit somehow manages to support 2D elements. But why don't we? Bastiaan thought it was because we were doing these external targets. And then I basically just asked him to confirm that, and then he responded with this. He said, so far it's just theory, and I'm not sure how much applies specifically to GLES2 or GLES3. I've been mainly working on Vulkan for the past month, so I'm a bit rusty when it comes to Godot 3's architecture. We render 3D first, especially important with GLES3 as all 3D rendering is done in linear color space and 2D is in sRGB. Then we copy the result into another buffer, apply things like glow, DOF, tone mapping, and a conversion of linear to sRGB, then all the 2D rendering is done. Now here my memory is a bit vague because at the end of the 3D stage, the color-corrected image does end up back into our primary buffers, but for the 2D rendering stage, there's more back and forth between the buffers. I've never really looked closely at the 2D renderer, but there might be some issues there. For GLES2 specifically, if you turn any After Effects off, there's a special optimization we've done for the quest where we skip copying the data between the different buffers to apply those effects. Right, because copying on mobile hardware is slow. Somewhere in here, us replacing Godot's built-in primary buffers, I'm sure is what he meant, with those offered up by the XR interfaces breaks 2D rendering, either because there is still code that ends up rendering to the primary buffers or something else. The problem, of course, with stereoscopic rendering with such a high FUV as we use makes 2D rendering unusable anyway. Yeah, and then he basically says, like, seeing as we're already doing a copy into Webxr's frame buffers at the end, there's no reason for Webxr to use the external texture approach. Man. And that turned out to be really easy to switch, like we did it in 30 minutes or something. But it doesn't do it. I wonder if we should try switching between GLES2 and GLES3. I know that GLES3 is not great for HTML5 in general, not just Webxr, but the renderers are completely different, basically. So I'd be interested to see what it does. So let's try that. We will need to open it up in the Godot Editor to make that change. And this is something we'll be able to see on the through the web inspector, because one of the things Godot outputs when it starts up is whether it's using GLES2 or GLES3. And I forget where to change this. Oh, here we go. It's up here in the upper right-hand corner. Yes. That changed the color of that mesh subtly. Okay, so we have switched to GLES3. Let's target platform requires ETC2 texture compression. Interesting. Okay, our textures won't work until we enable a thing. Christopher Sunbaum, hey! Why is it called WebXR, or why is it called WebXR? Is it a web thing? Yes, it is absolutely a web thing. It is a technology that allows you to create a web game that you can hit like an enter VR button and it will start running on your VR headset, or if you're doing, smartphone AR, you can hit an enter AR button and go into AR mode, or hypothetical AR glasses, which pretty much nobody has, but will eventually be a thing. I mean, they are a thing, they exist, but a thing in normal everyday people's lives. So yeah, it's a way for web pages to provide AR and VR experiences. Okay, so we switched to GLES3 just to kind of see what happens. I exported it. Let's start up the screen share thing with my phone because for people who just got here, like Christopher, we are working on a smartphone AR issue. And I'm going to attempt to share my phone to the screen, which is strangely not doing anything. Do I still have Godot running somewhere? I do not. Those are all VS Code. Weird. Okay. Let's do like the ADB kill server thing that frequently helps. And then we'll do ADB devices. It is not seeing my device. Okay. Disconnect it, reconnect it a couple of times. You guys know the routine. There we go. Now it sees my device, which you guys probably couldn't see because of that bar on the bottom of the screen. But let's try sharing my smartphone screen again. There we go. Okay. So let's reload the page. Oh, and we'll want to get the web inspector going so that we can verify that it is, in fact, GLES3. I'm always double checking these things because with web stuff, like there's so much caching that I've very frequently done the thing where like I make a change, go test it, and it's not actually using my changed code, which is just maddening. And so I always am like trying to put in things that will let me know that I'm actually running the latest code, that I don't have to clear caches or forgot to do, some piece of the pipeline to get me from, the beginning to the end, because there are so many steps when you're doing a HTML5 export in Godot. Okay, let's get the web inspector over. There is actually some interesting errors, or I thought I saw an interesting error. Yeah, this one. Invalid operation. Uniform buffer is bound at index 4. This is not an usual error, I don't think. But anyways, we're seeing OpenGL ES3. So our switch to ES3 worked. Let's try entering AR here. Not supported. The specified session configuration is not supported. Interesting. So it's just plain not working. I had in the past tested GLES3 with WebXR. I wonder if our changes broke it or something else. Could not create session because an error occurred while initializing full screen support. That's interesting. Just in case, let's try reloading and try it again and see if we just happen to have better luck the second time. Otherwise, maybe we could try using GLES3 with an unmodified version of the WebXR module. What is happening? Why did I have to pick such a complicated thing to do on stream? Come on, show me my phone. No, it's not connected. Unplug, replug. Okay. Enter AR. Huh. Yeah, it's not working. RWWKV6. Does the Godot HTML target transpile to JS or ASM? Both. So I think that it includes, it definitely in debug mode, it includes both the JS version and the WebAssembly version. In release mode, it might only include the WebAssembly, but I mean, there definitely is a way to do either or, WebAssembly or JavaScript, or both. Because when you're debugging, it's definitely much easier to debug when you have a pile of JavaScript rather than a pile of WebAssembly. Okay. What next, guys? I guess let's keep looking at this GLES3 thing. I do want to know if this is a problem that we introduced just now, or if it's a problem that we have in general, because if it's a problem we have in general, like this is a legitimate bug and should be fixed. WebXR should work with GLES3. I wouldn't recommend using it, because the way the GLES3 renderer in Godot was written is it's the high-end renderer. So it's not actually anything to do with the API GLES3 that makes this a problem. The problem is the way that Godot decided to write its renderer that happens to use GLES3 to be the high-end renderer, which just does not work well on the web. It does a whole bunch of things that just don't work performantly. So let's commit the changes that we did. And apparently I was doing some WebRTC stuff in here. Oh yeah, I was trying to help with a WebRTC bug the other day. Let's just add our WebXR things. Make a branch. WebXR. Internal textures, being the opposite of external textures. But we'll call it 3x. And let's make this commit. Not -a. Wait, what? Oh, Clang stuff. What is the difference? I don't really even see it. Maybe a white space change? Yeah, apply, do it. Modules, WebXR. Clang format was unhappy with something in the way my code was formatted. That's what that was. Sorry for not explaining it immediately. Files in this commit comply rules. Can't open. Oh my god. Okay, we're going to do commit no verify. Something in my pre-commit hooks is messed up. So this will be switch Webxr interface from using external textures to using the render targets from Godot. That will be good. This will probably eventually change into a PR for Godot, so that's why I'm trying to make my commit message relatively nice. And I will push it up to my personal Git repo, my personal fork. What do we call this? WebXR internal textures. And after that is done pushing, we will switch back to just the same commit that is 3.4 stable. We will recompile, and we will try with WebXR on GLES3 just to see what's going on with that. It's also possible that there's something in my project, in this like actual project that isn't GLES3 compatible. So maybe we could try creating a new project and also see if that has the same problem. Wow, this is really pushing a lot of data. I might not have pushed to my fork in a while. Here, I'll move it up on the window so you guys can sort of see what's going on. What to talk about during all of the waiting? Always when we do C++ stuff. What else is going on? Oh, did you guys hear that yesterday the designer of the NES and the SNES passed away? That is some sad news. I guess he was 78, I think. But since I've been doing a little bit of retro dev, I've been doing games in 6502 assembly for the Commander X16 for a while, since like the beginning of the year. But I just, like a couple of weeks ago, over the Thanksgiving weekend, started working on an NES game. And I'd never done it before, but having like a little bit of experience with the same processor and very different hardware, but you know, I was able to throw something together pretty quickly. The NES has a really cool design. The NES is an amazing little system. Anyway, I'll come back to that next time we have to wait. Okay, so we pushed. Let's check out 2.4-stable. And we will compile it. Not up here. We are not compiling in VS Code today. There we go. So the thing that is most amazing to me about the NES hardware is the way it integrates the cartridge into the system. It's a relatively limited system for, I think, cost reasons, but it is designed in such a way that the cartridge can extend the capabilities of the system in really just cool ways. Wow, it would take me a little bit of explanation to explain, because you'd have to understand what the problems are before I could talk about how the cartridge has solutions for them. But like, for example, the NES has a system that allows for artifact-free scrolling, like at the hardware level, the video card does. But, okay, wow, this is hard to explain. So it has address space for 4 screens worth of data. So the idea is you would scroll the screen a little bit this way, and you could have data ready for it before you scrolled, because you have these like 4 screens worth of address space that you can draw tiles to. So like when you're playing Super Mario and it's scrolling across the screen, basically it's drawing the next row of tiles just off screen in this address space for this like second screen, and then it slides into view, right? The thing is, the NES does not include enough video RAM to actually fit all 4 screens worth in RAM. It only includes enough RAM for 2 screens. And so basically, like on a vanilla NES cartridge with nothing special in it, there's like a little blob of solder that you have to put on, whether you want the memory to be for this screen and this screen going horizontally, or this screen and this screen going vertically, and the other parts in memory are just mirrors of whatever existing RAM there is. So you get like glitch-free scrolling in only one direction out of the box. But then because the cartridge can essentially extend the system, you could make a cartridge that includes a special memory mapper and the extra RAM. So like if a game actually needs to go in 4 directions, you would pay the extra cost to have the extra RAM in there. Although like very few games actually did that. I think like four games, one of them being Gauntlet. That's the only one I remember. And then other games did like different other clever tricks. Like Metroid has a memory mapper that lets it switch, whether it's vertical scrolling or horizontal scrolling. Anyway, it's really cool stuff. The NES is a phenomenally designed system. Okay, back to Godot. So I just compiled that. Now I need to export it, and then we will try it. Okay, so that is there. We need to get our dev tools so we can see whatever errors come in. Can we reconnect? Will that work? Nope. We'll have to make a new one. One of these days, I would love to do a stream with like retro dev, like NES or Commander X16 or something like that. I don't know how many people would actually be interested in it though. Probably nobody. But that would be super fun. Okay. And I'm not going to mess around with trying to share my screen. We're just going to see what happens. If it works, I'll share my screen. If it just fails, who cares? Interesting. Okay. It works. It actually works. We did something in the changes we just made that actually break GLES3. What did we do? Well, I said I would show you if it worked, and it worked. So I will get screen copy going here. Oh, and of course, screen copy is now messing with. Oh my god. Okay, first we'll check, is Godot running? No. Let's disconnect it, reconnect it. Okay, and when tracking is found, we then see it's here. Oh, I bet you're not seeing it because I didn't put it on the right screen. But still translucent. Still showing that same problem. But that's interesting. That does mean that it was our code changes that broke GLES3. So that's the new thing to learn here. And when we were looking at it, it definitely said it was GLES3, right? Let's just reload so I can verify in the dev tools that it is GLES3. Yep. It is. You guys can't see it, but I can see it. I'll move it over. It says GLES3 render right here. Enter AR. Ooh, does it not work? Okay, maybe that was a bad test. Maybe I forgot to reload the page or something. Wait, that doesn't make any sense though, because if I had forgotten to reload the page, it would still be broken from before. Let's reload a bunch of times. I wonder if there's a timing thing? Christopher Sunboom says, have anyone seen 8-Bit Christmas yet? Yes. That's actually the inspiration for me suddenly deciding on Thanksgiving weekend, I'm gonna go make an NES game. It's because I watched 8-Bit Christmas. It is good. It's cheesy. It's cheesy. It's a cheesy family thing, but it's good. I watched it with my daughters, and we had a lot of fun. Interesting. So now using the vanilla GLES3, this is not with any of the modifications we made today. It's just straight up not working. That should not be the case. I 100% tested GLES3 with Webxr at one point in the past. I definitely didn't test it with AR though. I would have tested it on the Quest, because that is where I do most of my Webxr testing. So we didn't break it. That is interesting new information. It could have been pre-existingly broken, or there is in fact a timing thing. Let me just try one more time, reloading and doing it again. RWWKV6 says, have you seen or are you interested in Jonathan Blow's new language for game dev? I have not heard about that. Working name is Jai. Interesting. Maybe not the best time for off-topic questions. I mean, every time for me is off-topic. I'm my ADD is in full effect at all moments, in all times. No, I hadn't heard of that. Maybe you can launch WebXR while you are screen sharing, but it was fine screenshots after it launched. I'm not sure what you mean there, Christopher. Maybe you can't launch WebXR while you're screen sharing, but it was fine screenshots after it launched. You're just talking about like the order of trying to get this stuff started. I don't know. It's just a pain, like how reliably or unreliably this stuff. Guys. Okay. What? So there's some happens sometimes, doesn't happen sometimes issue with GLES3. And I'm 90% sure this error is GLES3 specific because I don't recall seeing it with GLES2. Okay. I wonder. So let's reload. The thought I had is maybe doing it twice without reloading. Is my text message going to appear? Okay, we're not showing the screen. My pod just texted me. I don't necessarily want to share that with all of the streaming internet. Okay, so it just loaded. I'm pressing Enter AR. And is it going to work or is it going to error? Looks like it's going to error. Yep. And now let me press it again. And it works. That is interesting. So there's some possible maybe timing issue with GLES3. That will need a bug report, an issue. Let me just add that to my list of bugs here, wherever that is. Bugs with Godot 3.4 stable, GLES3 doesn't work immediately after the page loads with Toy Racer XR, because of course it's possible that my game is doing something specific that is affecting this timing issue, but does work the second time I press Enter AR. Okay. But that also means that we can try to retest our code with GLES3. So let's do that. So Webxr internal textures. So get status really quick. Okay, yeah. So there's all that other junk. And let's recompile it. RWWKV6 browser API change? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything browser API that's changing here. I would definitely bet more on Godot changing or the various updates to Mscripton that have happened since I initially wrote the Webxr support, because we are sort of depending on Mscripton internals and the way that Mscripton is doing stuff, such that changes to Mscripton have a number of times broken our Webxr. Christopher Sunbaum, is there conflict when screen sharing the phone and trying to launch Webxr? Say turn off the screen sharing on the phone and see if you get more consistent results when trying to launch Webxr. That's an interesting thought. So there's definitely conflicts between the screen sharing and everything else that I'm doing with Godot. Godot just likes to kill my screen sharing thing. But yeah, on the phone's end, that's all on the computer end. On the phone's end, I wonder if there could be some kind of issue too, like you're suggesting. I don't know. Yeah, I guess while we're just waiting for things to compile, I can show you guys some random stuff that I have shown on stream before, but not everyone here is on every stream, so some of it might be interesting. I made this Commander X16 game, which I haven't found in time for the compile to finish. Let's do the X part. I did this sort of like Mega Man clone style thing for the Commander X16, which is an 8-bit system, but it's not a 8-bit system from back in the day. It's like a new 8-bit system, but it uses the same processor as the NES and the Commodore 64. It's actually very similar to the Commodore 64, but is definitely the best thing that I've written in 6502 assembly is that Mega Man clone-ish thing. I mean, it's just the start of a thing. It's not a whole game. I'm just going to show you guys. This is my stream. I can show you what I want to show you. Where is it? I don't know where I put it. Maybe I put it in a different directory. Oh my gosh, how did I lose this game? This is why my tangent is going to end, because I can't find it. You know what? I have a web version. I have a web version. I will load up the web version and I will show you guys after we test out this next build here. So I exported, so we're good on the exporting. And I'm going to reload on my phone. I'm going to start up the screen sharing. It's upset about Godot-ish things. Will it work? It's working, I think. No, it's not. Let me disconnect and reconnect the phone. There we go. Get it to the right screen here. All right. So this is the code we wrote earlier on stream with GLAS3. When I press Enter AR, I'm going to expect it to not work. And then when I press it again, I'm going to expect it to at least work as well as it was before. Yeah. And we're still seeing the translucent weirdness. We're still seeing the translucent weirdness. I wonder. Oh, guys, I see the button though. Was that there before? The button is there. The button is up there in the corner. Do you guys see that? It's like super tiny, but the button is there. I'll make the screen bigger. The button is there. The button has never been there before. Can I press it? Doesn't appear to do anything, but it's in like a really weird part of my phone. I have a phone with like a beveled edge, and it's like over the bevel. I actually don't know if that was working or not before. Let's try using the normal export templates. We won't recompile to do it this time. We'll do it by just using the ones that come with Godot 3.4 by editing the export settings and just removing our custom export templates. And I will actually put them in a buffer over here in gvim so I can copy it back later. Okay, so we will clear that out. And we will export. And so it's exported. That means I need to close this. And I'm going to get my screen sharing thing going. Is it going to work? No. Disconnect, reconnect. It's on the wrong screen. And the button's there. The button is there. This is using the normal export templates. But we... Oh, wait, no. This I didn't even restart it. Ha 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 ha. Forgot a step. I always forget a step. Okay, reload. Because I keep doing this in a different order. I'm just always confusing myself. Okay, I still have to look at Jonathan Blow's new language thing. That sounds cool. RWWKV6, Ben Eater's YouTube series on building 65-2 computer from scratch is amazing. I got it sitting over there. I've done that. I've done that series. I have mine on a shelf in the back. I've shown that on stream before too. It's not working right now. I tried to wire up some new buttons to the 6522 so I could like make a little game on the LED screen, but it didn't end up working, and then I ended up doing other stuff. Okay, so I'm pressing it. It's gonna error. Okay, I'm pressing it again, and the button is not there. The button is not there. Okay. Okay. We are making progress here. Okay, dude, not while I'm on stream. We are making progress. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner, there is no button. And what we changed was and I'm strangely scrolling away from the world. That was weird. Tracking got weird, I think. There is no button in the upper left-hand corner, and we switched from our export templates to the ones from 3.4 stable. So we did do a positive change. I guess, okay, what next? Next, let's switch back to GLES2 and see if the button is still there on GLES2. And the other thing I want to see, I should start taking notes because my memory is just so bad. So we're going to try, see if button is there, for GLES2. And then the next thing is I want to see if we make the button bigger and move it to a better place, can we press it? Can we press the button? Because then we've switched from the problem of the buttons don't appear to the problem of why does everything get semi-translucent, which are two possibly separate problems. I thought they were the same problem, but maybe they're separate problems, and that is interesting. Okay, so first thing, see if the button is there for GLES2. For that, we will find the editor. Oh, it's not open. We'll open the editor. We'll open our project. We will switch to GLES2. Yeah, look at the texture over there. It's a slightly different color. I think they use a different color space, GLES2 and GLES3. Okay, and we will export. I have to put our templates back. Don't print. Put our custom export templates. These are the templates that we're compiling. Okay, so that is now exported with GLES2. And then we need to get the screen sharing going again. Nope, okay, try twice. All right. Reload. Okay, so this is GLES2. What we are trying to determine is, does the button appear? Because I'm 99.9% sure that with GLES2, the button did not appear. We verified with GLES3. Let's see what GLES2. GLES2 being the more important of the two because it's what you would actually use. The button is there! The button is there! Oh, you guys can't see it because I forgot to share to the right monitor. Look! The button is there! There's another bug here, which I don't know if you guys have noticed. When it loses tracking, all of the geometry goes away. And that's a bug in my code in the Webxr module that basically when it has no tracking, it just says, I don't know, it gives up. Which what instead it should do is it should just report whatever the last value it had when there was tracking. So that's another bug that needs to be fixed someday. And definitely for AR, like for AR, that bug needs to be fixed. For VR, if you lose tracking, you're in trouble anyway. Seeing nothing might actually be better for VR sickness than seeing the old tracking values. Anyway, that is cool. So we can see the button. We actually, Bastiaan was not wrong. Bastiaan was right. Okay. So next thing, we are going to make the button bigger, and we're going to try to press it. So for that, I will need the Godot Editor. And let's work on this here. Button. Make it big. Make it big and obvious. Let's have it actually do something when we press it, just so we're like, know for sure. And it isn't just like a visual issue. And the big and obvious thing that we're going to have it do is a OS alert, which opens an alert box on the HTML5 export. We'll just say hello. All right, and let's export this. And then I'm going to take a slight break, and I'm going to force you guys to look at this Commander X16 thing I made. And check the chat, because I have seen a couple of things going on in chat. It's okay, I gotta close this. Come on, what's going on? I want to share my screen. Unplug, replug in. Huh, all right. We'll do the usual stuff. ADB, kill server. ADB, devices. Okay, that didn't work. We will unplug and plug back in. Jiggle it, we'll jiggle it. Jiggle it didn't work. Oh, come on. Let's kill all these remote debug windows from Chrome. Haha, okay. That did it for some reason. I killed one of the remote debug windows from Chrome and now it's seeing the device. Okay. Screen copy. Move it to this screen. Let's go horizontal. Okay. And we need to reload. Okay, our big button almost covered up the Enter AR button. I probably should have paid attention to that. But we can still press it. We have entered AR. The button is there, although it's oddly semi-translucent. I'm going to try to press it. Nothing. That is interesting. Oop. Why would the button not work? It is on the main viewport. From Godot's perspective, we've changed nothing. I mean, not nothing, but like very little. We've set AR/VR to true on the viewport, on the primary viewport, and that's really it. Like, why would input not get through? I wonder if something's changed in the browser about the way it's doing input, and we need to change something in the way Godot is working to account for that. M2, I don't know if you're still here. Have you done AR stuff? Do you know anything about like what the browser, like AR stuff not in Godot, like Webxr AR stuff just straight in JavaScript if the browser does some different input thing when you're in AR mode? So that's weird. If I press the button not in AR mode, I'm sure it'll work. Yep, it says hello. So interesting. We have made progress. The button renders, the button doesn't work, and everything is semi-translucent for some reason. And it feels like the semi-translucent is coming from Godot, not Webxr, but the input thing could maybe be coming from Webxr. Chris Sunbaum, is there a reason why not to use Webxr for standalone PC games? I mean, performance. You certainly, if you are using a PC VR headset that's connected, via a wire to your PC, and you're running a Webxr experience, the performance is actually pretty good. The performance is pretty good. It's not ever going to be quite as fast as if you have a native VR experience running, but it will be pretty good. There are definitely Webxr experiences that I have played that to me were indistinguishable from a normal native experience, even on the Quest 2. They just weren't made with Godot. we have a long way to go with Godot and performance with Webxr. And hopefully I'll be able to dig more into that next year. Want to become famous? Buy followers and viewers. Mr. Man, M2. Don't think so. I've unfortunately not done a lot of AR. Does Godot read canvas touch and all that during presentation? Don't know if something might be going on there. You know, I'm not sure exactly how Godot's input works. I haven't really looked at that code that much. The only bit of it that I looked at was the joystick stuff, because I had to try and integrate that with the controller stuff in Webxr. But I mean, Godot shouldn't be doing anything different than it's doing when you're not in AR mode, right? I'm just wondering if when we're in AR mode, do we need to intercept events in a different way? Because like in non-AR mode, I press it, it works. I enter AR. From Godot's perspective, we have changed rendering, but we haven't changed anything with input. But maybe maybe we need to. Maybe we need to do input differently once we're in AR mode. I mean, I can Google that and see if anybody else is talking about this. Webxr AR input. This does not seem like the right place to look, but I'll click it anyway. Oh, here's a good way to check. Let's do some samples. Immersive AR. I don't know if this will have any UI. Probably not. Oh, AR not found. Yeah, I'll have to open it on my phone. See if there's anything. AR hit test, anchors, hit test with anchors. Webxr, or does anyone know of a Webxr AR experience that has UI that we could just try? Ideally one with the source code available, but not necessarily. I mean, we'd still learn something. UI interaction. This is a WebXR experience that provides interaction between UI, XR input sources, and touchscreen. Okay. Let's open this up on my phone. I think I already closed the screen sharing thing. And what is the address? Oh, and of course I have to make this bigger. Developer, play canvas. Oh my gosh. Wait, it says WebXR Ray input? This might be doing UI that exists in the 3D world. Which I guess we can look at the code to confirm that. I just want to try it. Let's just try it. So developer, I guess you guys probably want to see what I'm doing. Developer.play canvas. Nope. We'll type that normal. Play canvas. Was it com? Actually, maybe I won't show you guys what it is, because then I can look at this. I'll show you after we got it loaded. So I can see the URL. Tutorials. WebXR Ray input. Where's the little dashy guy? Where's the little dashy guy? Oh, here it is. Ray input. Okay. I accept all your cookies. I love to eat delicious cookies. Okay, AR, allow. Do I have to press it again? Well, that wasn't happy. Well, this one doesn't work for some reason. Lame. I would like to look at the code briefly, though. I mean, I guess I don't know if it works or not, but I'm curious how they're accounting for touch, if they're doing something special or not. UI, okay, so the 3D UI is created using button. I bet they exist in 3D space. Yep, we can interact with buttons in 3D space. Yeah. So this is basically like what I was suggesting to Sergio originally, was like create the UI in 3D space and then interact with it that way. The thing is that ARKit with Godot does let you put things in just plain 2D space and have them work. But yeah, I bet, so WebXR does give you touch inputs through its like controller support thing. It'll be like a ray pointing from one of the like virtual controllers. And maybe you have to do it that way. Maybe that's required. Maybe WebXR is eating the touches and turning them into WebXR style input and not letting us get them in the normal way. I might have to write like a JavaScript, some little JavaScript demos or something to test this, like removing all the complexity of Godot and just seeing like when we're in AR mode, can we still get touches the normal way, or do we have to get touches through the WebXR input stuff, which has honestly been a long time since I've looked at. I'm going to go read my own tutorial on this to remember how it works. Actually, hang on. I don't have a search on my website. I need to add one. So I guess we would do that. We would treat that as a select event. We would probably treat it as a select event with a ray pointing in a particular place. Yeah. And maybe we have to. Maybe it has to work that way, which is okay. You could write some GDScript code that took those select events and turned them into normal touch events for Godot and just like resubmitted them into the input system. So it wouldn't be a change to WebXR, like the WebXR module, but it would be like, well, if you want to do this, here's this snippet of GDScript code that's going to kind of like translate you know, these WebXR specific events into touch events, so your game or whatever doesn't need to change, and maybe that'll end up being the solution. So yeah, I think that's probably the next step. Let me see what other folks are saying here. Oh wow, people have said a lot of things. M2 says, I thought I remembered having issue where trying to click the Enter VR button again to exit wouldn't work. I'm surprised you got the Enter VR button to render once you went into VR in order to press it again. Because like that shouldn't have been happening. I mean, we just got those buttons to still render. RWWKV6, are you getting any UI feedback on the button element when you physically press it in AR mode, or is it just doing nothing? It's just doing nothing. It's doing literally nothing. The only AR stuff with UI I can think of would be like the DOM overlay stuff. Yeah. So maybe WebXR wants you to put DOM overlay in order to get normal touch events, and then anything that happens in not overlay would be treated as a select event. RWWKV6, because it's rendering a press state but no alert. That would mean it's API issue. It's not rendering a press state. The visual state is not going to pressed. Play Canvas also has a DOM overlay example you might want to try. Yeah, I will try that. It's weird that this is bugging out because I'm pretty sure A-Frame 3JS have VR buttons that still read touch input even during WebXR presentation without doing anything special. Okay, so maybe I should try and find some A-Frame examples that are doing that. But there was a couple of things in here I wanted to do. I've lost track. So the Play Canvas DOM overlay example, let's just try and search that out. Or maybe I'll search it out on my phone. Am I still sharing my screen up here somewhere? No, I don't appear to be. All right. How are we doing on time? Ah! There's only 8 minutes left. All right, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to make some notes, and then I'm going to subject you guys to some of my 8-bit games. WebXR DOM overlay. I wonder why though, like, why was it just not working? I suspect we may just have that happen here again. We'll try it though. Press Start AR. Ooh, this one did work. Okay, this is regular HTML CSS rendered in WebXR AR session using DOM overlay. And then I press End AR. Okay, so yeah, DOM overlay appears to receive normal events. Okay, so notes time. What did we learn today? What did we learn today, class? So we did this stuff. This is good. We switched to this. I'll cross those out. So, say next steps or something. Next steps. So, switching to using Godot's render targets did cause the buttons, did cause the, I'll say 2D buttons, so I know what I'm talking about. 2D buttons over the main viewport. But the problems are, everything is still semi-transparent when a 2D element is on the screen, and input appears not to be working. Or okay, actually here, this won't be next step. This will be like current state, and then next steps. will be, I do want to try using buttons, but without a canvas layer. That like kind of shouldn't work, but I don't know. I want to try it. I want to try some JavaScript, pure JavaScript, we'll just say try pure JavaScript, intercepting normal touch events. Maybe we only get Webxr select events in AR, in immersive AR. Yeah. Maybe we'll try the button thing. We'll try the button thing straight away. No new comments. Before I start doing 8-bitness, because that should be really easy. It should be really quick. And actually, what we've done so far can probably be made into a PR. So make PRs for Godot 3 and 4, since it is an improvement. We have improved things. The buttons do appear, and the code is less complex. We delete lines. That's always good. Okay, so I want to try getting rid of the canvas layer and see what that does. All right. Is my event still attached? Does it still work? Yes. Okay. Let's export Webxr. Do it. Close you. And I will get my screen share over here. Do I still have this open? I don't think I do. I think I used the same tab. Let's go 192. This one. I'm going to reload just to be safe. I don't know if when we like go there and then it loads it again, if it's just starting it again or if it's actually reloading. So I'll hit the browser reload button. Oh, I meant to ask you guys if my frame rate was good today. Last week there were like horrible frame rate issues. Nope, still can't press it. All right, I tried the thing. Didn't help. And everything was still semi-translucent. So that was no good. That made no difference. So I'll just make a note to myself. Made no difference. But yeah, I last week my frame rate was really bad, but none of my dashboards told me it was bad. They all told me it was good. Like usually when my frame rate is bad and I get like 2 FPS or whatever, my YouTube dashboard will be yelling at me and my Restream dashboard will be yelling at me. Nothing was. It said excellent connection is what it said. And nobody told me that the frame rate was bad. And so I didn't press record in OBS because if the frame rate's bad, I'll record in OBS and then upload a better video later. But like just to be safe this time, I started recording in OBS like right away. So, I don't know. If it was bad, I have a solution. Okay, I found my Commander X16 project. Let me show you guys. And this is, hopefully I was not like changing things last time I was in here. I don't see the actual program though. Where's the actual program? Do I have to compile it? Oh, it puts it in build. Okay. Build, bin, there it is. Okay, so let's go into build, bin, x16 emu. C Commander. All right, so why didn't that work? Oh, I haven't done this in so long. I don't remember the command line arguments. Okay, let me move this screen over. All right, so I am just showing you guys a thing I made for the Commander X16 modern retro computer in 6502 assembly, and this is by far the best thing that I've made in assembly language. I'm very proud of it. It has decent physics, decent collision. I'll bump his head or whatever into stuff. The shots, of course, shoot through the environment, just like Mega Man. This art isn't mine. It's from an art pack on itch.io, which is pretty well known. I've seen a bunch of other people use it because it's just nice. It's a good art pack. I'll see if I can make these jumps. I probably can't. Well, I made that one. All right, here comes the last one. I missed it. And so, because of the size of the number that I picked, you will fall through a number of times because the length of the screen memory is smaller than the size of the number that I picked. So you have to overflow. There we go. You have to overflow the screen a number of times before it lines up with now the physics. But yeah, I'm super proud of this. I didn't make it again. And then the Nintendo one that I did, let me find that, is much less far along because I was just learning the NES hardware, which is way more work to use than the Commander X16. The Commander X16's video card, the Vera, is amazing. It's beautiful. You can set your sprites to like whatever size you want. Not whatever size. There's like 3 options or something, but it's options. You know, you can have like 8x8 sprites, or no, maybe it's 16x16, 32x32, and 128x128. Maybe those are the options. I can't remember exactly. Whereas the NES, it's like all sprites are 8x8. Or actually, no, there's a mode you can put it in where there's 16x8, but nobody uses that mode. It's a dumb mode. But all the sprites can only get 3 colors. So like everything is like combining sprites and layering them and weird funness. But anyway, let me show you that. Why do I not see the actual ROM here? Let's run my build sh. Where is it? Why don't I see the ROM? Oh no, there it is, the .nes. Okay, messin. Nes. Oh, everything always opens on the wrong screen. So this is what I made over the Thanksgiving break. The background is incidental. I followed a tutorial that used that palette, which is why it's that greens palette. But the sprite is mine. That's actually my art. I spent a lot of time agonizing over it. But I was trying to make a like princess-oriented RPG for my daughters, which is why it's a princess. But I hated the sidewalking animation that I actually made on the Thanksgiving weekend, so I agonized over that and made it way better. I like it. But in the process, I kind of ruined the up-down animation a little bit. I added this intermediate frame where she just kind of looks like she's sliding, so I'll remove that and go back to the original. But the side one is nice. It's got a nice arm swing. I think I finally nailed the illusion that the 2 different leg up positions are different feet and not just the same foot going up and down. So that's more or less what it looked like the first time that I did it. But yeah, I want to put some more time into this. I really enjoy the challenge of 6502 assembly and dealing with the old weird hardware. Once I finally get to like the scrolling background thing, like that's going to be intense. Doing that on the Commander X16 is so easy. I actually did a little demo with that on the Commander X16, but it is way harder on the NES. So here, let me show you my Commander X16 one as I attempt to remember how it works. And it's on the wrong screen. So there is enough hardware support for scrolling in the Commander X16 that you have to do nothing fancy to make this happen. You're able to construct the background tiled layer to be a set of sizes, but the maximum size that you can make the background layer is so big that I cannot imagine ever needing more than that. In fact, it's so big, it takes up an entire bank of VRAM if you were to do it. But like, honestly, I could make the world be like really, really big in VRAM, and then like maybe you get to the end of it and there's like a moment where it like reloads, and that would be fine. You don't have to do any like weird tricks, and you can just have, you know, your dude walking around on a four-way scrolling map. The NES, you don't usually have enough. You only get enough VRAM to store 2 screens worth of data, right? We already talked about that. But like, even just storing your level in ROM, you get so little, like you have to compress your level data and decompress it on the fly in order to support scrolling levels. And that's crazy. To make the level scroll at all, you have to come up with some sort of compression, and that's the only way you can fit your level into memory. And there's like some common patterns, like I think Super Mario Brothers, the background is like one compressed thing that it has for the background of the level, and it just sort of loops it. It loops over and over. And then the like actual level data, like the ground and the pipes and all that stuff that you interact with, is another like set of level data, which is itself also compressed and then decompressed dynamically. But that way, by storing them separately, they're able to save a lot of space because you don't need to repeat the background stuff. Anyway, I'm into that. I'm into retro. Ooh, thanks, Ricardo, for letting me know that the frame rate is good. Awesome. And yeah, thanks RWWKV6 for enjoying my retro stuff that has probably bored the crap out of everybody else. Anyway, guys, that is my that is the 2 hours. That is how long we do these. Thanks everyone for coming. I think I'm probably going to take the next 2 weeks off of streaming. Next week, Friday, I think I'm driving down to take my family to stay by my pa, unless someone gets coronavirus again, which could happen, by the way. I got coronavirus, my 2 daughters got coronavirus, and my wife did not. So, anything could happen. But because I will be traveling on Friday, I don't think I'll be doing a stream. So I will see you guys, I guess, after the holidays, because the next week is Christmas, so I also won't be streaming then. But I think that like week between Christmas and the New Year, I probably will. Or actually, does the New Year come in the middle? I don't know, but whatever. The week after Christmas, I will probably stream on that Friday. I'm not sure what I'll be doing. We'll see. Maybe some more WebXR stuff. Were you guys into the WebXR stuff? It was this was emotional roller coaster. At one point, I thought we were going to just finish it in 30 minutes and have everything work. And then at another point, I thought everything we did was worth nothing because the possible solution we had in mind was useless. And then in the end, it turned out that we accomplished something, but not everything we wanted to. So it's all over the place. Anyway, yeah. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend. And I will see you in a bunch of weeks or on Discord. Come join the Discord, hang out. I'll be hanging out there and chatting about stuff in the meantime. So that's all I've got. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.